Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a great day today. And today we're doing a deck video on Tinfins, but this time we're going to just look at sample hands and talk about whether or not I would keep or mulligan it. Um, you know, the kind of the idea here is that sometimes people ask, okay, what's a keepable hand, what's a mulligan hand, how should we approach what to keep with the deck. And I think in general it's pretty easy to figure out what to keep and what to mulligan, but sometimes there's like kind of trap hands that aren't super great. And I think for those of you who are fans of like the Epic Storm deck, on their website they'll have articles that are keeper mole and some analysis there. So I figured this would be a good thing to have up there for Tinfins. Um and yeah, so the deck list we're using is the one that I used in my video that I uploaded the other day. So the Tinfins Q3 2021. And like I said before, very basic list. Maybe a couple of different sideboard slots, but I think once again the theory itself is going to be sound and should be applicable across all versions of the deck. And one more note I'll make on this is that we're just looking at just initial sevens. Um, we're assuming this is game one. We don't know what our opponent is doing, just whether or not in a vacuum you'd keep this hand, and if applicable, I'd say if I'd change my mind on the player on the draw. So yeah, so with that being said, let's take a look at this first hand we have here. So this is just a simple, um, pretty basic one, right? We have a cantrip, we have two reanimation spells, we have some amount of mana, we even have a protection spell. Um, I, I would keep this hand. Um, we have the option of just turn one ponder. Uh, we're looking for entomb, right? So that makes it really easy. If we happen to draw the entomb or find it off of this ponder, we're in great shape. If we're on the draw, there's that very slim chance that we actually draw step hit entomb on turn one if we're on the draw. So that's really neat. Um, and yeah, so I like this hand. Just game one in a vacuum. Um, and if you're on the draw and you hit ponder, right? Um, or you hit off that ponder, you actually have the or or on the draw, you ponder. If you draw entomb or dark ritual on your first draw, and then into a dark ritual off the ponder, that this can go off turn one with Flusterstorm back up. So I like this hand. One thing to note, I mean, it is risky. One land, Crow Mox, you're probably pitching the Goryo's Vengeance to it, and then of course Lotus Petal. So it is a little bit risky on the mana front, especially if you don't hit something good off of this ponder. Like, essentially, you're really hoping for this ponder to be good. And if your opponent, you're on the draw, they turn one like Thoughtseize you, you're likely getting that ponder ripped from you. And then from there, you're hoping that you hit a cantrip or something. So yeah, so I'd keep this one with the caveat that it is a little bit risky and that you're hoping to hit a ponder. If I got this one on like say like a multi six, uh, I would also be inclined to keep it, and I'd probably pitch either the Crow Mox or the Goryo's Vengeance, just because those are probably like the weakest card here because we still want to have land drop, Lotus Petal, since we might not be able to turn this Crow Mox on a Molda 6, um, and then the Flusterstorm. So I'd probably take Goryo's Vengeance first and keep the rest of these as for my Molda 6 option. Molda 5, Crow Mox plus Goryo's. Um, and then on the Molda, if we're mulling to 4, probably cutting the Lotus Petal, maybe even the Flusterstorm. Really hard to say. But still, I think this is I'd be happy to see this hand. I'd keep it pretty easily. And here's another hand. So this one's actually great. This one's very similar to the first. Got two both of our reanimation spells have the Flusterstorm, have lands and mana, but that's it. So I wouldn't keep this hand. I mean, what are you doing with this? You play Pluto Delta, okay. Yeah, then you're hoping for your draw step to either feed you the Entomb or to feed you cantrips. And like that's not where you want to be. Like you don't want to be sitting there hoping that your draw step is doing something for you. Like this hand, yeah, yeah, you could draw into something good, but you're likely not to. So I would pitch this hand back in pretty much any situation. Maybe if I was like mulliganing, like, and this is I got this on like a mull to like 5, right? Then I would be willing to keep it, just because of that, right? It's like, okay, cool, we have land, reanimation, protection spell, and it's risky, but going down to 4 is a little bit more difficult. Um, but yeah, but this one in general, I am pitching it. And out of curiosity, what do we draw a card and what do we hit? Shallow Grave. Yeah, see, you'd be very sad in that situation. Here's another one, and I mean this is you keep this, right? I mean we have Dark Ritual, Entomb, Goryo's Vengeance. Like that's it. That's a turn 1 you can combo off. Uh, if you're a bit more I don't want to say skittish, but if you're wanting to kind of sandbag so you can fire off the Satsis, you can go off turn 2. Yeah. I think definitely if you're on the play, this is obviously great. If you're on the draw, maybe you're hoping for either a second Dark Ritual or a Lotus Petal on this one. But yeah, this is a fantastic hand. And once again, if I was mulling to 6, I'd put back the Collective Brutality. And then if I was on a mull to 5, so on a mull to 5, I'm putting back both of these, and I'm just running this out there. Um, maybe on a mull to 5, I keep one land, just to keep the Thoughtseize and hope that I can like get through a Thoughtseize combo turn. Um, but it's risky. But yeah, I mean this is you'll love to see this. All right, so here's an interesting one. One land, it's a scrub land. Uh, so we're never casting this Limb Duel's Vault, but we have 2 Entombs and 2 Goryo's Vengeance, and then a Thoughtseize. I mean, I think this, I'd call this a sketchy keep. Um, so like you're really hoping to draw more lands here, uh, or just any sort of mana. I mean, you draw a Dark Ritual, okay, you're feeling pretty good about this. You draw a second land, you're feeling pretty good about this. Um, Lotus Petal, Chrome Mox as well. Like this hand has a lot going for it. And if your opponent happens to Thoughtseize you, well, you have redundancy. And if your opponent is playing counter spells, once again, you have redundancy. You cast an you play that scrub land, you EOT Entomb, they counter it, whatever. You untap, hopefully draw a land, and then you Entomb again. And this is one of those hands where you can just kind of keep forcing the issue until they stop you, right? So I like this quite a bit. I would keep this. It's risky. If you get stuck on one land, life is gonna be awful. But I'd keep this one. Um, mulligan. If you're in the mulligan plan, throw Limb Duel's Vault back, throw one of the Vengeances back. Um, like Entomb is by far the most important card in the deck. Uh, So if I have 2 of these, I'm pretty happy because I feel like the first one is always the scariest one to try to resolve. But if you have the backup, then I feel I'm much more inclined to just toss out into them, um, and hope that I can resolve it. Next hand. All right, easy. This one's easy. You mulligan this. This hand does nothing. What do you keep this? What are you doing? You're playing. So don't keep this hand. Um, maybe you keep this hand because you mold to 3. In that case, you keep your 2. You keep like probably Underground Sea, Pluto Delta, Goryo's Vengeance, and you just hope to hit cantrips or something. But yeah, you mulligan this in pretty much in every single situation. So here we go. We have one where we have 3 lands, 2 reanimation, a dark ritual, and a Thoughtseize. Um, I would mulligan this hand because once again, you get Thoughtseize your opponent turn 1 and hope that you hit the Entomb on your draw step, or maybe you hope to hit cantrips so you can try to find that Entomb. Um, but what are you doing with this hand if you draw nothing but lands for the next 3 turns, or mana, or redundant pieces? Like it's not. This is a hand that you just sit you have it, you feel good because you only need one more piece, but like you can't do anything with it. Um, so this is one that if this is your 7 or even a 6, I would throw back. If you get this on a 5, um, mold a 5. I mean, you keep these 3, and then you probably just keep your 2 fetches, um, and that's a solid enough five hand keep, because once you get down to 5 and you're just eh, you're gonna grasp at anything that gives you a chance to win that game, and so this gives you a chance to win at 5, but on a mold of 6 or just a blind 7, mulligan this all the way. Okay. Here's another fun one. So we got 3 lands: Lotus Petal, Children, Preordain, and then of course the best card in the deck, Entomb. Um, this one's interesting, right? So three. I don't mind. I like having land drops. I like Entomb. Um, so lands plus Entomb is usually a good. I'm willing to keep those off the bat. Kids is kind of a dead draw here. Like, yeah, we could cast it, um, and do the 1/1 children beats. Like that's a thing. That's like a legal thing for you to do. But like, what if you hit like Shallow Grave after you run out the Children of Corliss, and then your Delver opponent like bolts it or something like that in response to your Shallow Grave? Now you have a Children of Corliss back again, and that's awkward. So I kind of so Children is a really dead card. Secondly, Preordain is by far the weakest cantrip. I mean, yeah, the Scry 2, we can look and put the bad stuff to the bottom and then draw, but it's still risky. But I think I'm inclined to keep this on a blind 7. We have a cantrip, we have lands, we have Entomb. We're looking for reanimation at this rate, and also protection. And, I'd like to find a Thoughtseize or two, or a Thoughtseize and a reanimation spell. Um, so I think this is a reasonable keep for a 7. It can go downhill very quickly if your opponent like thought seizes you and takes your Entomb, or they thought seize you and take your Preordain. It goes really bad if your Preordain is something like double land, and then you bottom both and then hit another land or some sort of mana spell. Um, so that's your risk there. On a mold of 5 or on a mold of 6, you pitch back Children, and this is reasonable. On a mold of on a further mulligan to 5, you throw back Scrubland probably. And honestly, like even if you mold a, mulliganing to 4, Delta plus land and Entomb plus Preordain is pretty good. So like this is reasonable. The further you mulligan, the more reasonable this hand gets, right? So not bad. Yeah. So here's another interesting one. So we have double cantrip, double dark ritual, Grizzlebrand, 2 lands, and this hand, like, what do you need to like actually hardcast a Grizzlebrand here? So 5 mana, 6 mana. So turn 2, you can make 6 mana. Uh, if you draw like another dark ritual, that's 7 mana, 8. So like if you have to draw like dark ritual, you could potentially hardcast Grizzlebrand turn 2, which is pretty neat. And with a ponder and a preordain, you have a chance of like doing that. Um, but I think this is a trap hand, because once again, like that's a lot of mana to spend to hardcast this, and then it gets forced, and that's weird. Um, like so like Gristlebrand's kind of a dead draw. You have your 2 cantrips and you have 2 lands, so like yeah, you could probably find something to pitch this Grizzlebrand in reanimation. Um, so it's I it's interesting. I think this is a trap hand, because just just because you have really no combo pieces in hand. And maybe you hardcast a Grizzlebrand, but I don't think that's reasonable. Of course, we could sit here and be like, oh, draw another card. Look, Polluted Delta. All right, we're getting close. And then a Thoughtseize, okay. Tundra. Like, yeah, you could, we're probably like scrying things to the bottom with the Preordain and doing ponder stuff. But yeah, I think this is a hand that you would mulligan pretty much in every scenario. Because yeah, you're not likely to hardcast a Grizzlebrand, and then you need to find all your combo pieces. So mulligan, in my opinion. Once again, here's another one. I think this is an easy mulligan. Grizzlebrand, I mean, on its own does nothing. We do have the brutality, so it is a discard outlet for the Grizzlebrand, which is fun. But we have no cantrips, and we have no other combo pieces. We have no reanimation. We have no entomb, but brutality plus Grizzlebrand means we don't need it. So like this is a hand where maybe you get lucky on the draw and you top deck reanimation, but that's probably not going to happen. Um, and like yeah, you're hoping for cantrips, but I don't like this too much. Yeah, here's another one. So I mean, we have a reanimation, we have a Grizzlebrand, we have mana, but this hand does nothing. Like what we're hoping to draw a discard spell to self discard Grizzlebrand, cantrips to find some way of doing this. So this is a dead card. These aren't going to do anything without help. You have all this mana. What are you doing here? Like, I wouldn't keep this as a 7. Wouldn't keep it as a 6. As a 5, okay, yeah, you keep your 2 lands and then these and hope to draw a discard spell and hope that your opponent doesn't just shred you from there. So yeah, easy mulligan. Easy mulligan until you get down to like the 5 card point, and then in that case you keep it. Here we are again. Same thing. This one's interesting. Um, because of the Limb Duel's Vault, right? Like, okay, we have Limb Duel's Vault. We can maybe try to find something here. If this was a land, I would be more inclined to keep this one instead of a Lotus Petal. But like, once again, this hand does like nothing. And I don't want to sit here and hope that I draw some way of pitching this or you know something like yeah there's always the chance that you draw your into them, but then you have no protection spells, and I think in this meta you really want to be able to have at least a Thoughtseize to go when you're going off. So yeah, once again mulliganing it, I'd mulligan this in every step. If I got this as a 5, flats, Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, Shallow Grave, Limb Duel's Vault would be like the ones I'd want to keep, because extra Dark Rituals, while cool, aren't going to do anything. Grizzlebrand, you'd want to always throw back. So yeah, great. Okay, let's do one last hand, and then we'll call it for this video. So yeah, so here's one. Dark Ritual, Thoughtseize, Limb Duel's Vault, Preordain, couple of lands, Emrakul. I mean, this one, one, so I think this is a hand that I think is a pretty good trap hand, right? So we have 2 lands, we have a cantrip, we have our our big tutor, we have fast mana, we have the Thoughtseize. Emrakul is a dead card, so like as a functional 6-card hand, it's maybe tempting to keep this on the mold to 6 because we have a lot of cantrips, we have a lot of ways of finding our spells that we need, but it does you're hoping for a lot of things to go right, and I don't think this is reasonable enough to keep. On a mold of 6, yeah, on a mold of 6 maybe. Since I mean, if you get this as your opening 7, you're essentially having 6 cards because of the Emrakul. So as a 6-card hand, like it's not bad. On a mold of 5, yeah, I'm probably pitching. I'm putting back the Emrakul, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan of this one. Okay, maybe we do one more hand. Okay, so here we go. Now this one I think is very reasonable to keep. once again, Emrakul is a dead card, but we have Brainstorm, so we can Brainstorm, put Emrakul back. Maybe we hit our Shallow Grave off of all of this. So I like this quite a bit. We're gonna first, turn one, Underground Sea. You know, hold up Brainstormer into him, see what our opponent's up to, uh, and then hope that we, hit our Shallow Grave off of this Brainstorm or something else. We can put back the Emrakul, get a refresh, and then if our draw step plus Brainstorm doesn't find us anything, we got Limdual's Vault to find us our Shallow Grave or Goryo's Vengeance. So I think this is fantastic. I'd hope that we draw like a Thoughtseize here, just for protection. But Brainstorm could do a very good job of finding that for us by trading this Emrakul. So huge fan of this hand. I would keep this in a heartbeat. Um, keep this as a 7. I'd keep this as a 6. I'd keep it as a 5. Land, uh, Entomb, Dark Ritual, Brains. Both lands, and then these 3 spells are an easy keep as a 5. So I think this hand gives you a very good chance to win. Obviously, your draw steps plus this Brainstorm could just be horrendously bad, but Limdual's Vault will save you, and the chance that those are the issues. So yeah, this is great hand. Absolutely love it. Would keep it. And so on that note, I guess kind of what's going to be our last couple of notes that we'd want to make. One, um, you know, Entomb, most important spell in the deck. Our game plan, it resolves all around getting the Grizzlebrand into the graveyard. Uh, so, and Entomb is by far the best way to do this. So, and anytime I get an opening hand, step one, does it have Entomb? All right. If it has Entomb, cool. We go to step 2. Do I have the mana for it? And then step 3, what else do I have? And from there it gets questionable. But I'm almost always going to keep a hand with Entomb and mana, unless it's 1 Entomb 6 lands. Okay, that's not keepable. Um, obviously any hand that has some amount of lands, Dark Ritual, Entomb, Shallow Grave. Okay, yeah, I'm going to keep that and hope that I draw into protection spells um, to jam that thing through. Um, and hands that are like lands plus cantrips and maybe like a Thoughtseize, I'm those look good, but those ones, you're spending all those resources to try to find two halves of a combo. I don't think those are worth keeping. So the trap hands are the multiple cantrips, some number of lands, and that's it hands. On the flip side, hands that have reanimation and reanimation, mana, and then like protection spells, like a couple of like Thoughtseizes. Once again, also trap hands because you need cantrips to draw through your deck, and those reanimation spells aren't going to do anything until you get a creature in the yard. And since you have 8 total reanimation spells in the deck, I'm more inclined to mulligan hands with reanimation in them if I don't have cantrips to back them up. So yeah, I think those are gonna be my big ones. You know, keep a lookout for entombs. You want to have some number of cantrip. One half of your combo, so entomb or reanimation plus cantrips is almost always worth keeping, especially if you have the mana to cast it. Um, try to use your cantrips to find whatever pieces of the combo that you need, or even your backup spells, your protection spells. And sometimes you might even need to find to do it to find mana sources. So uh, you know, hopefully this makes sense to everyone. As far as like mulliganing and decisions on like game twos, those I think I'll point out in any future videos that I do and talk through my decisions. I think I usually try to do that when I'm streaming or recording videos anyway. Is why I'm keeping a hand against a certain opponent. Um, but yeah. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.